We're only in the second week of 2025 and Pokemon is already going crazy. Blooming Water is supposed to be released on February 7th, already available at Costco's all across Canada and soon as well in the US. Pretty much sold out, to be quite honest with you, and up for sale on third-party markets such as eBay for almost double of what those folks paid for at Costco. Sealed products are getting really tough to get a hold of, especially those really sought-after items such as Pokemon 151, Surging Sparks, as well as Prismatic Evolutions, which I do see being one of the top runners at one point as well. So as the sealed market seems to be a little bit tough right now, I wanted to switch gears and focus on some single cards under $25, which have the potential to grow in the future and are worth a pretty penny if you get it graded and get a PSA 10. So let's dive in. So for today, we're going to be using Pokedata. And again, I mentioned this before in one of my videos. I like to use this website because it kind of just gives me all the data rather than going on eBay and running around on different websites. It kind of just gives me all the breakdown in one screen and it's great to use. So again, I do recommend it and I have recommended it before. Some of the cards that we're going to talk about today, I have touched on, but again, the focus of today's video is for cards under that $25 mark. And we are going to be using that TCG Player $22.92 as a factor to say that these cards are under $25. Sometimes you'll see them a little bit different on the eBay side, but today we're going to be using the TCG Player price point to say that it's $22.92. And looking at this card here, I mean, again, I think we've spoken about this before in a previous video. Steelix, great card, and $22 for it raw. PSA 10 pulling you $102. So we're looking at around 5 times the value here if you were to get this graded, if it's worth a PSA 10. And I know this is one of the cards that we have touched on before specifically because I actually want to get this graded myself. It's a great card. I personally love it. And it's one of my favorites from Paradox Rift as well. I don't have too many cards that I like from Paradox Rift, but this one right here is a stunner card. So this one over here going for $22.92 currently. This one was around that $23, $24 mark at the beginning of July, that is. And it started to kind of go down a little bit or stagger for the past few months, that is. And then we start to see it climb up and get around that $23 mark. So we are seeing this one starting to move upwards. PSA 10, of course, as I mentioned, is going for $102. And the population isn't that big. It's 723, mind you. This card probably doesn't get graded that much, so that's one of the reasons why you'll see that happen, but it's a great card to get graded, and it's a great card. And the first card that's under $25, that is, I think, a bargain from the Scarlet and Violet era. The next card is Skarmory from Surging Sparks. Now, this is an interesting one that I'm bringing up, and there's a major difference here between what the TCG Player price is and what a PSA 10 is going for. And in my honest opinion, talking about this card for a second here, Skarmory is one of the nicest, or the coolest, I should say, looking cards from the illustration rares from Surging Sparks. It completely wipes out the rest. I think the only one that really competes with it from an illustration rare perspective is the Latios, and that's it. I mean, the only other really nice looking illustration rare from this one, in my opinion, is probably the cast form. I'm sure most of you folks have other cards that you really like, but this one over here, now looking at the price, TCG Player going for $12.89. PSA 10, we're looking at $197. That's insane. I'm talking about 20 times, almost 20 times its value if you get it in a PSA 10. And I know mine is a PSA 10 that I pulled, and I'm definitely going to be sending that one out to get graded eventually. This one over here is a great one. Population is very low. It's still a relatively new card. In comparison to some of the other cards that we're looking at today. It's only been out for about a month or two. That being said, it's been out for a couple months and it's holding those kind of prices. It's been up in that area for quite some time, since the beginning of December, that is, when we started to see those PSA 10s cramp up. If you look over here, we're looking at 177 and working our way upwards to that 197 mark. So it is a great card to get graded. And it's a great card to hold in a raw copy as well, because I think this one will grow from the raw side as well eventually. Surging Sparks, very difficult to pick up, very expensive to buy a booster box right now. Whether you're looking at it from a US or Canadian perspective, it's just insane. You've got to pay quite a pretty penny to get a booster box and quite a pretty penny to get any sealed product, really. So this is a good time, if you want my honest opinion, to grab any single from Surging Sparks. It's going to get more expensive. I think, if you want my honest opinion, this is a really good time to get a bunch of those illustration rares that are undervalued from Surging Sparks, because the Pikachu and Latios are really up there in price. And again, I'm trying to look for some bargain items here that you folks can really go for and make a buck out of it at the end of the day. Pikachu and Latios, still great grabs, but again, for this video, we're focusing on cards that are under $25 that you can make some good money off of. One, from a raw perspective, as the raw cards will grow in price, as well as the PSA 10 if you can get it graded or you choose to get it graded, it's a good time or it's a good card to get graded. So Skarmory is the second card that I recommend grabbing in a raw copy, and if you have the means to, I would also get this one graded. The next one we're going to talk about today is Charizard EX from Obsidian Flames, the Gold Charizard. Yes, I am starting to talk a lot more about Obsidian Flames cards because they have started to creep up. There has been a lot of talk about it. The booster box has gone up in price, and this is a card that I actually haven't touched on in a little bit, and it's a great card, and it's actually only going for $25.27. 27 cents more than that under 25 mark, but I thought it would be a great card to talk about because, again, it's a Charizard card, it's only $25, and Obsidian Flames is only getting more expensive as time goes. PSA 10, $145. So again, with this one, you're looking at almost 6 times the value if you can get it in a PSA 10. And this one over here, looking at it from a PSA 9, actually has a little bit of a better pricing in comparison to some of the other cards. You're actually up about $15, which is more or less what it would cost to get this card graded. But again, it's not under the price or the market price or close to that market price. It's at least a good percentage over what the TCG player market price is. So it's a good one, regardless if you can get it in a PSA 9 as well. But PSA 10 obviously is the focus with this one. $145.71, not bad. Again, nothing special about the card itself. It's just a secret rare card. It's a Charizard at the end of the day. It will grow in value as time goes. And since we're talking about Obsidian Flames, the next card we're going to be looking at is Ninetails, a Ninetails from Obsidian Flame. And this is one that I did recently touch on as well. It's a great buy. It has climbed up in price. This one was going for around $10 or $11 earlier in the year, or I should say earlier in 2024, and now is already almost doubled its price. We're looking at $20.24, and it's continuing to climb. And that's another reason why I wanted to talk about this one, because the last time we talked about this one, it was around that $15 to $17 mark. Again, up another $3-ish here as per TCG player, and the PSA 10 is going for $169.16. Still a good time, guys. Still a good time to pick up Ninetails from Obsidian Flames. Beautiful artwork as well, for those of you who are into the artwork as well. For those of you who are into the artwork, that is, this is actually one of the nicest looking cards from Obsidian Flames. And Obsidian Flames does have a couple of nice looking cards if we skip the Charizards, that is, because the Charizards are just kind of like whatever in this set. But the Ninetails, another one that's really nice is Clefairy as well. I thought that was a really nice card, and we won't be talking about that card today, but I'm just talking about some of the artworks from Obsidian Flames. Easy pull rates, that's how it was before. I'm not sure what the newer boxes or if any of the new stock are having a difference in pull rates, but Obsidian Flames moving up in price, booster box moving up in price in their cards, and worth a pretty penny from a PSA 10. So a Ninetails, another card that I would suggest grabbing before it skyrockets. And now we're going to move into Pokemon 151, and it's Poliworld. And this was actually a really popular card before Pokemon 151 even released. This was one of their like showpiece cards that they had, where it was like, oh, look at this card, look at the artwork. And I still feel like this is such a great card. And you know what? This card is only going for $18.55 as per TCG player, and $13.41 from eBay. It's actually not bad. It's actually a great value. And a PSA 10, looking at $103. Not bad with this one. And this one is also starting to climb. A raw copy in the beginning of July was going for around $9-10, and you can see here we're already almost double that amount as per TCG player. So this is a card that's already moved up and continuing to move, and we have Blooming Waters that, again, it's not officially out, but released in Canada. You were able to pick it up. US, I believe it's coming out sometime mid-January as well at Costco's. So look out for that, and make sure you save some for everybody else as well. We want to make sure everyone gets an opportunity with opening these packs and not going to scalpers. Great price. PSA 10 is also great. We're looking at around 5 times the value here with this one. Poliworld from Pokemon 151. Haven't touched on this one yet, but you know what? But this one is another great one to pick up before it continues to climb. Continuing on with Pokemon 151, we've got another banger here. Dragonair. I love this card, and that's the reason why I actually brought it up. This one is going for $24.58 as per TCG player, and we're looking at almost 4 times the value with this one as well in a PSA 10. And honestly, out of all the Pokemon cards from Pokemon 151, this one is in my top 3. I have to be honest with everyone. This one is in my top 3, and I'm shocked that it's still under $25. I mean, yeah, it's technically $25, but still, I'm shocked that it's at that price. I think it should be worth more. I think it should be worth more personally than the Charmander and the Charmeleon. Don't hate me for saying that. I honestly think so. I wouldn't be surprised if at one point it does reach those values. This one also having some major gains from $14 around that July time of 2024, and now we're already at $24.58. Still relatively affordable, but on its way up and continuing to climb here. Another one you don't want to miss, Dragonair from Pokemon 151. The next one over here is Metagross. This is another one of the cards that I did touch on earlier as well, but I did want to highlight once again. $15.42 currently, still a great price. PSA 10 worth just under $100, about 6 times its value here. A beautiful card for the season as well. I don't have too many cards that I'm too fond of or think that will have too much movement from Temporal Forces, but I feel like this one over here has that potential to make that movement in the future, that is. And $15.42, it's not bad. It's not a bad buy. And if you're missing this card from your sets and you are somebody that's trying to complete some of these sets, such as Temporal Forces and some of the other ones that we talked about today, this is another one that you can pick up for a decent price. And the last card that I want to touch on today quickly is Chancy. Chancy's still a great price. You don't want to miss this one. $10.98. Fantastic card from Twilight Masquerade. Honestly, one of my favorites. The PSA 10 value is not that high right now, but I do feel like this one has potential to grow in 2025. We'll see what Twilight Masquerade does. Honestly, relatively decent price here. If you're missing this card again from your set, it's a great time to buy. I actually picked this one up myself just a week ago because I realized I didn't have it in my collection either. And I was like, this is a great price. Even if it doesn't increase, you know what? This is one that I need for my collection. So again, for those of you who need it for your collection, it's a good time to buy. For those of you who are looking to invest in singles, it's a good card to buy. And from a PSA 10 perspective, we'll see what that looks like in the future because I do feel like this one is also going to grow. Any Gen 1 Pokemon usually has that vibe and usually can push forward and do well. And this one over here has multiple beautiful Pokemon in it. Psyduck, Bellsprout, Ditto. You got the whole bit here. And I didn't even say Snorlax, who's taking a nap there because it's just a beautiful card. Chansey, great card to buy for 2025. So that is a quick look at some cards that have good potential for investment for 2025, whether it's in a raw copy or in a PSA 10 if you're looking to get it graded. These are some great cards to send out to get graded. For me, as I mentioned, I just picked up the Chansey because I was missing it from my collection. I already have the Golden Charizard. I actually was lucky enough to pull about 3 of them myself, so I'm going to have a quick look and measure which one of those actually fit the PSA 10 criteria before I send it out. And I also have a couple of Ninetails, which I also want to measure before I send out. And before I send out my cards to get graded, I will make a video on all the cards that I will be sending to get graded with PSA, and I will post it and share it with all of you. Let me know in the comments section below what your thoughts are on these cards, and if there are other cards that we should pick up right now before they boom. And if you guys got this far in the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. You guys are the greatest. My name's TRV, and we'll see you next time.